G'day humans, Chris Stead here. I just came out of a Google presentation where they introduced to local media here in Sydney, Australia, the Pixel 9a, the new Google Pixel 9a phone, which obviously isn't a big surprise. We're used to the A series coming out around about then, although it's a bit earlier this year than last year. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to take you through a comparison of all the specifications and other changes that have happened between the Pixel 8a and the Pixel 9a. So what are we getting this year that we didn't get last year? What's new? What's the same? And also I'm going to compare it with the Pixel 9 Pro in case you're considering stepping up to that top tier model. All right, let's go. So starting with the release date, this is really quite interesting actually, because the Pixel 8a came out in May and the Pixel 9a is coming out in early April, as you can see there. But when I originally did the press briefing, it was actually scheduled to come out on the 26th of March, which would have been significantly ahead of when the 8a came out, almost 2 months earlier. But at the last minute, literally like hours within me releasing this video, they got in touch to say there'd been a slight delay and it's coming out early April. So I expect it's going to be somewhere in that kind of April 1 to 7 region. You probably even know by the time that you see this video. But either way, it's coming out a lot closer to the release of the Pixel 9 Pro than the Pixel 8a did to the Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro. Yeah, very interesting there with the release date. So just a little bit earlier this year. Now on the price front, there's no change year to year on the base model. So here in Australia, it's still $849, and I believe in the US it's the same as well, $499 as with the 9a as it was with the 8a. But what we are seeing here in Australia anyway is on the Pixel 9a 256GB variant, and price increase of $50 up to $999, but they're still sub $1,000 for both variants. If you want to step it up to Pixel 9 Pro, it's quite a leap up. It starts at $1,699. On the color front, you've still got your classics obsidian and porcelain, but we've got one new one in iris, which is this beautiful purple color. And then we've got peony, I believe it's pronounced, which is the pink color returning. Whereas on the 8a, we had bay and aloe. If you want hazel or rose quartz, you're going to have to step it up to the 9 Pro. Now, as for the size and the weight, look, interesting. We're going to go into screen size in a sec, but slightly lighter this year with the 9a. But it's slightly taller and slightly wider, despite having the same depth. And we're going to talk a little bit about design in a second, because they have given it a new look and a new feel. But yeah, just interesting, slight little variations there in the size. But as you'll go into in a second, the screen's bigger. And when you look at the 9 Pro, it shouldn't surprise you, it's a heavier machine, but it is a thinner and not as tall as the 9a. It's thinner than the 9a, and it's not as wide as the 9a, which I thought was interesting. And if you remember this year, they had the Pixel 9 Pro, which was kind of the standard size as opposed to the big size, and then they added the Pro XL, which was basically what the 8 Pro was. So the Pixel 9 Pro is a normal sized handset. It's not an extra large handset. Now onto that screen size, like I mentioned, it has stepped up. We are at 6.3 this time around, as opposed to 6.1 inches with the 8a, so slightly more screen real estate. And that actually brings it up to the same screen real estate as the Pixel 9 Pro. As I said, it's not the big variant, that's the Pixel 9 Pro XL. But it's got the axial display, whereas the Pixel 9 Pro gets the super axial display. The refresh rate is the same across the 8a and 9a, so it's a variable refresh rate, anywhere between 6 and 120. VRR being particularly good for gaming, allowing the frame rate to basically adjust to whatever the processor and so forth can keep up with in relation to that video game experience. You get a broader range with the Pixel 9 Pro if you step it up. On the resolution front, look, a minor change here. Obviously we've got that 6.3 inch screen, so it's a bit bigger screen, and that's minor change to the resolution, and the pixels per inch count has dropped a little bit. I'd say this is because just the screen size has got bigger, but the resolution hasn't got as improved to meet it. So we've just got a slight drop in the pixels per inch. Obviously, if you step it up to the 9 Pro, you're getting a much better screen. That said, there's a marked difference in brightness with the 9A. So the 8A had a HDR brightness of 1400 nits, and a peak brightness of 2000 nits. With the 9A, that's stepped up to 1800 for your kind of base HDR, and 2700 peak, which is getting pretty close to where that Pixel 9 Pro was. Not quite there, but pretty close. So genuine step up there in the brightness. We're also seeing quite a bump up in the battery life. So we've got the milliamp hour battery capacity has risen from 4492 to 5100, which is even more than what we're seeing on the Pixel 9 Pro. And that sees the base battery life jump up to around 30 hours. Obviously, there's lots of factors that play into battery life, but this is what they've got on the spec sheet that they sent across to me. And yeah, up to 100 hours of life if you've got an extreme battery saver mode. But yeah, so that you're going to get a pretty decent jump in your base battery life with the Pixel 9a than you did over the Pixel 8a and even the Pixel 9 Pro, which is impressive, right? But all the devices have fast charging, and they didn't actually reveal how fast, how long to get to 50% or usually 80% battery. They didn't detail that, but it does have fast charging, and they all have wireless charging as well. So inside the device, obviously the big step up here is Google Tensor G3 to Google Tensor G4. So we've moved up to that new chip, which is what we saw in the original Pixel 9 launch with the Pixel 9a. Shouldn't come as a huge shock or surprise to anyone. They did point out that this equates to about 30% faster speeds in just general day-to-day stuff like web browsing and so forth. So a marked improvement in performance there for something that is the same price. I'm a bit surprised there's been no love on the RAM. Each year that's a component that should be becoming more easy to manufacture. But anyway, it sticks at the 8 gigabytes, and the HD sizes haven't changed either. What we do see a change with the IP rating, so it jumps up from IP67 to IP68, meeting where the Pixel 9 Pro is, which is, but basically what that means is IP67 is still pretty good. You can drop it in up to a meter of water for half an hour and it should be fine. IP68 allows you to drop it deeper and for longer, so a little bit more protection. It doesn't hurt. On a connectivity front, look, it's pretty much the same across the board, although if you do go to the Pixel 9 Pro, you will get the benefits of Wi-Fi 7, which you don't get in the A series as yet. So with the camera, it's interesting. I mean, last year, they kind of went huge with that 64 megapixel wide rear camera. And this year they're calling it a all new camera and an improved camera, but it does drop back to 48 megapixels. That 48, 64, it's not a big deal, right? 48 megapixels is going to be enough for the vast majority of use cases. What I think is more interesting is that we're seeing a improvement with the sensor, or at least, it's going to have better low light capabilities, considerably better than what we saw with the Pixel 8a. Even better to an extent than the Pixel 9 Pro. So that main rear-facing camera does seem to have stepped it up quite a bit, especially over the 8a. But otherwise, the ultra-wide is pretty much the same. Interestingly, with the Pixel 8a, I couldn't find any information. I don't think they revealed the sensor size on that, but they have revealed the sensor size with the Pixel 9a. That tells me it's probably an improvement. It was so average in the Pixel 8a, they didn't want to publicize it. Now they're willing to publicize it, so hopefully that means there's been an improvement there. And obviously you're getting a much better ultra-wide camera if you step it up to Pixel 9 Pro. You're also getting a third camera with the Pixel 9 Pro, the telephoto camera, which you're not getting with either the 8A or the 9A, so no changes there. And when we look at the front-facing camera, there's also no real improvement between the 8A and the 9A. In fact, the field of view has slightly reduced, but ever so slightly. I don't think you would notice. Again, Pixel 9 Pro, obviously, big step up in that regard. Look, when we step up to video, no changes there really in terms of what you're going to be able to capture. It's the same rear video capacity, same front video capacity, both of which are below what you can get on the Pixel 9 Pro, which obviously has superior cameras across the board. But there are some new modes that we see in the Pixel 9a. So AdMe feature is in, macro focus is in, and you can get time-lapse now, just a short time-lapse. They made a point of saying it's a short time-lapse in astrophotography. So that's kind of new features which have been brought on the back of the G4 chip and the way that it can work with the Gemini AI to do more for you. And I mentioned at the top about the design, so they are calling it a new look and feel. It'll have a flatter back, more rounded corners, and it's a kind of aluminium casing I think they said it was 80% recycled aluminium in the casing, and the back is 100% recycled plastic, I believe they said. So anyway, that's what we can see with the design. I have not been able to get the phone in yet. It's in the mail. It's in a courier anyway. It's on the way to the house, but unfortunately didn't quite make the embargo break, and I wanted to get this stuff up to you as soon as I was allowed. So do keep an eye on the channel. I will be putting up more content around the Google Pixel 9a phone as soon as I can. Otherwise, I'm Chris Ted. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'll check you later. You!